So I recently reviewed the A500 Mini, the mini console version of the classic Commodore Amiga. I was really happy with the system at launch, with only a few minor complaints, and the creators Retro Games have just released a firmware update which seems to address most of the issues that I had. And seeing as the original review video that I made got quite a lot of interest, I thought I'd make this quick follow-up post-update. So the latest firmware version at the time of recording this video is version 1.1.1. I wasn't even aware that 1.1.0 had come out, to be honest. I'm forever moaning about my PlayStation giving me notifications about updating every time I turn on, but I guess this is the downside of having a console that isn't connected to the internet. You don't get any notifications at all. As the A500 Mini doesn't have Wi-Fi, you have to go to the Retro Games website and download the update file yourself. Then simply drop it onto a USB stick, plug it into your A500 Mini, go to the settings, select Update Firmware, and you should get a notification to start the update, which only takes a few seconds, unlike the PS5. There are actually quite a lot of useful features in this update, but I'm going to mainly focus on the ones that I found most useful. The first is the .adf file support. At launch, the A500 Mini supported the WHD load format, which to be honest I think is the superior format, especially for a plug-and-play console like this. But one of the most common formats used by Amiga emulators is the .adf format, which is simply a dump of an Amiga floppy disk into a file. This is now supported on the mini console, and it's accessed much in the same way as the WHD load packages. Simply drop your .adf files onto a USB stick, select them from the A500 Mini's USB option on the menu, and you're good to go. The downside to the ADF format is when games come on multiple discs, you have to manually load the subsequent discs into virtual drives. RetroWare have actually implemented a pretty slick way of dealing with this. Simply select the first disc from the menu as usual, then tap the R shoulder button on the other discs in the program to build a playlist, then start the game. When the next disc in the program is required, simply hold the home button and tap the R button again to cycle onto the next disc. This really is quite an elegant solution, and it works flawlessly too. I think WHD load is still the way to go in my opinion, but having the ADF format supported natively is very much appreciated, as not everything that I've looked for has been available in WHD load. One piece of software I've been trying to get up and running, I mentioned it in the last video, is the legendary music production suite OctaMED. And this brings me on to another feature that I found on the update, the ability to change the model of the Amiga that you're emulating the software on. When I first tried to run the .adf image of OctaMED, for whatever reason, it was crashing when I was trying to load it. So I went into the settings menu and changed the virtual machine from the A500 to the A1200, maxed out the memory, tried it again, and it worked perfectly. Another feature in the update that I very much appreciated is the hot crop. In the original version of the firmware, it was possible to auto-crop games to fill the screen, but it was a bit clunky to do. First, you had to launch the game, then back out into the settings menu, select auto-crop, and then relaunch the game for the settings to take effect. Now, at any point in the game, you simply hold the home button, tap Y, and the screen auto-crops in real time. I complained about the controller that came with the A500 Mini and wanted to get a more traditional style joystick. I'd heard the C64 Mini came with a joystick that's compatible, and I managed to pick one up for £30 now, just £10 more expensive than the joystick on its own. The problem I noticed immediately is the default fire button was mapped to the right button on the joystick, which was pretty unusable for me being right-handed. The update has now swapped the default controls so that the fire button is on the left. This is still remappable, but I do feel a little bit sorry for any left-handed gamers that this has annoyed. And while we're talking about the joystick, allow me a quick side rant. I was looking for the C64 joystick separately, but it seems to be out of stock everywhere. The RRP price was £20, so I thought I got myself a bargain when I picked up the C64 Mini, including the joystick, for just £10 more. The problem is, it's not the same joystick. The one that came with a full-size C64 and the one that's sold separately is much better quality apparently. It's got the clicky micro switches and generally a more robust build. The one that came with the C64 Mini feels like a cheap mushy toy. and this really has annoyed me, to be honest. I guess it's my fault for not doing enough research, but there does seem to be a running theme with RetroWare's hardware releases, where early adopters can get the shitty end of the stick, which I don't think will serve them well in the long run. And I guess this is why many people are saying that they haven't bought the A500 Mini, because they're waiting for the full-size one, which still hasn't even been announced. Okay, rant over, back on track. Another bug that I did notice before was in some games it wasn't possible to pop up the virtual keyboard for some reason. Apparently it was something to do with the mapping, which you could fix yourself on a game-by-game basis, but this update has also fixed it so the virtual keyboard will always be available from the menu button. There are a few other features as well that don't really affect me, such as being able to map the joystick to keys, if you'd rather play like that. I mean, who am I to judge, but I can't think why anyone would want to do that, to be honest. But it's there now. You can also hot swap joysticks, there's native support for additional third-party joysticks, and a few other bug fixes for issues that I hadn't actually encountered. All in all, this is a great firmware update. I can't remember the last time any of my modern consoles updated and actually gave me anything that I found useful, but this addressed pretty much all the minor issues that I had, and it was released a month after launch. I honestly can't think of anything else that I would want in future updates, so it's great to see the post-launch support so strong. Anyway, just a quick update there. I'd be interested to know any good quality third-party joystick recommendations that'll work well with the A500 Mini. Seems as the C64 micro switch version doesn't seem to be available anywhere at the moment, so if you know any good ones, please let me know in the comments. And please drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you found this video helpful. Thank you for watching. Until next time, this is Kutski signing out, keeping the games alive.